one Saturday night we were all in the living room and this banging at our front door. There's this banging or somebody was trying to get into our house, trying to break into our house. My mum was obviously, she got us all into the bedroom. We got my brothers under the bed and got us all, hidden, and was on the phone to 999 to say, my husband's a soldier, there's somebody trying to break into my house and whatever else. We were all crying, my mum was crying, and then suddenly we realised they get into the house, and as we were all hiding under the bed, and it was just, we were terrified, absolutely terrified. You can scale many things in business. You can scale systems. You can scale different people, you can scale your products, you can go into different markets, you can do all things, but there's one thing you can't scale. You can't scale yourself. And I think that's what we try to do. We go, right, this just has to be done. If anybody can do it, I can do it. And you just push it hard, you work more hours, you travel more, and you just burn yourself out. Sometimes you got to go backwards to go forwards, and for me, a big point was hiring some really great people, which is obviously so hard. I mean, there's a book I read, it's called Who? Solving the Number One Problem in Business, people. But I've been really fortunate that people have come on this journey with me, and they've shared the load. My wife has been amazing in terms of the personal stuff. I could not have done what I've been able to do without her doing what she did.
Hi Girvan, welcome today. How's things with you?
Great, Ryan. How are you?
Good. Just checking in. You're busy lately?
Yes, well, the kids' football run this morning is always gets me out of business mode. So yeah, we got a win this morning, so I'm in great form. So I was up in Enniskillen. So
obviously you're an entrepreneur, so you have a lot going on. And I know you well, and family's very important to you too. How do you manage the balance between the two?
I mean, it's difficult. I think I've got a wonderful wife, very patient wife. That's a big help. But yeah, I mean, it gets difficult sometimes, whenever lots of things are getting thrown on you at the same time. Or I think I travel a lot, and I definitely feel a bit guilty whenever I can't do a football run or I miss the matches. If I miss a match, I'm really gutted, but I mean, I think it is difficult. It is difficult, but you just need to check in now and again and make sure you're getting the balance right. I don't think you can ever get it perfect, So I think as an entrepreneur, you have something in you, and you just keep pushing and driving. Sometimes you can feel a bit invincible, even though you're really not, and you don't realize that you're tipping the balance. You're pushing too hard. You used to just think it was business and family, but you forget about yourself as well. And you can't look after everyone else if you don't look after yourself, and that's when you push too hard, it's difficult. I married a country girl. She doesn't hit and miss, I can tell you, if I'm pushing a bit too hard. So
you said looking after yourself. Is that something that you've always done in business? Or I say in business, but in life?
Looking after myself, I think probably when I was younger, I looked after myself a bit more, went to the gym a lot, and, I enjoyed fitness. When I was, in my teens, I was very fit. But I think up until last year, now I am looking after myself, but I'd say the last 5 to 10 years, no, definitely not. I made a big change probably in the summer of last year. Just to try and look after myself a bit more, because you can't look, if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after your business, and you can't look after your family, So I got about 12 kilos off me, and I did things a wee bit differently this time, because I was always this type of person that just went, somebody would say, "Do you want to do this challenge?" And I'm going, right, how do we do it faster? How do we do it better? How do we do it bigger? And for that short piece, that short time, you really pushed it so hard and you punished yourself. But of course that ended, and then you went back right back to where you started. So this time I tried to bring a bit of balance about it. I just, it needed to be sustainable. I changed my diet. Didn't go on a diet, just changed, eating more protein. I have a great neighbour, a guy next door to me. He's a personal trainer. And, I just started photographing my food and sending it to him, you know. And I did this for probably about 4 or 5 months and made a few changes, more protein, less carbs. And actually, the food that I'm eating now, I'm eating better food. And my wife gives off. She's like, "You, how much the food that you eat now? What's it costs?" So, and then I just started going to the gym 3, 4 times a week. I think, I've got a 15-year-old kid, and I've got a 12-year-old. They just started the gym as well. So they started saying, "Daddy, can you drop me down to the gym?" I go, "Well, I might as well go myself as well." So that's what I'm doing now. Just trying to bring a bit of balance about it.
Mm. You said the last 5 to 10 years. So what was it that prevented you from, I suppose, applying that time to look after yourself?
Business is tough, and back 10 years ago, it was really tough. Your business is in the survival mode. You have the survival instinct kicks in, where that's all that matters. And you're pushing hard. You're pushing hard to generate sales. You're pushing hard to look after customers. You're pushing hard, to just grow your business. And at an early stage, being in that survival mode for a long time is probably not good for you, and then it becomes a way of life, and you realize that, you're putting everything else above yourself. That's certainly, and by all means, there's really good things about having a survival instinct. Like, I don't think I would have grown the businesses I have to where they are without that. But you have to, yeah, it can't be the normal. You can't always be in, survival mode. And you get at the estate, and you realize that the person that's really, you've grown this great business and it's all very successful and things are going good, but you've sacrificed yourself.
That's something that I feel that I did a lot of in my 20s, was like I worked a lot in the business, so much so that was just the main focal point, and everything else was second to that. But doing that too, like being consumed by that, I always felt that, well, now when I look back, well, at the time I felt like, nobody else could do what I was doing and I needed to do it. And, you tell yourself the story of, this is how it needs to be and I need to work every hour. But now when I look back, I realized actually that's an unproductive way. Is that something that
Yeah,
you
I
were?
mean,
Or?
I've learned a lot of really valuable lessons. I've always really had to learn the hard way. Rather somebody telling me, I had to just do it and learn. You can scale many things in business. You can scale systems. You can scale different people. You can scale your products. You can go into different markets. You can do all things. But there's one thing you can't scale. You can't scale yourself. And I think that's what we try to do. We go, right, this just has to be done. If anybody can do it, I can do it. And you just push it hard. You work more hours, you travel more, and you just burn yourself out. Sometimes you got to go backwards to go forwards. And for me, a big point was hiring some really great people. Which is obviously so hard. I mean, there's a book I read. It's called Who, Solving the Number One Problem in Business. People. You know, and but I've been really fortunate to, the people have come on this journey with me, and they've shared the load. My wife has been amazing in terms of the personal stuff. I could not have done what I've been able to do without her doing what she did. She gave up a lot of things. She got a marketing degree, was a marketing manager, and after the kids were born, she decided not to go back to work, and that's allowed me to do what I need to do. For our family. And so I'm massively, massively appreciated. She's been a rock.
Where did business start for you? Like, what age were you here?
When did business start for me? Ooh, I'll tell you where business started for me. Business started first time I ever sold something. So whenever I was younger, I was in the Army Cadets, and I never smoked. A lot of people, most people smoked in the Army Cadets. You're 13 to you're 18. And we used to go away to camp every year, and over in England, and I used to go out and buy 100 cigarettes, and I waited till everyone ran out of cigarettes, and I sold them all for £1 each.
What age?
I know, and that was my spending money when I was away, so it was great.
What age
So
were you at that time?
I suppose I was about 15. I was about 15, yeah. And that was the first taste of money. So, but other than that, whenever I in school didn't do great in primary school, went into high school, it was a big change for me. Worked really hard. Went on then to do my A-levels. In Regent High School in Newtonards, County Down, and didn't do particularly well there, and went into retail and started really where I learned how to start selling. But I think at a young age, once I got the taste for money, like I'll tell you a story. Whenever I was 16, even though I was still at school, I worked two part-time jobs. I worked in a bar, and I also worked in a retail place called Jeanster in Ard Shopping Centre. I hated working in the bar, right? But I loved working in Jeanster. And so it it was bringing good money in, which was great.
Sorry,
But I phoned,
what was it? Jeanster?
it's called Jeanster,
And what
yeah.
were they selling?
It was a retail shop, sold jeans
Just
and
okay.
fashion.
Yes.
It was an art shopping centre. But of course, this one night I decided to phone in sick to the bar and go and work in Jeanster. And of course, I was working away in Jeanster, and of course, the guy that owned the bar walked into the shop. He goes, "Are you feeling better, Harry?" So I was like, that was it. I didn't go back to the bar, but I went on and moved on and worked in Original Levi store in Belfast. Went on to work for a construction company in Banbridge that manufactured windows and doors. And throughout all this time, I was really just seeing how these businesses worked, and went on, worked there. And then I got a job as probably the youngest sales rep for Munster Joinery in Northern Ireland. They're called Baskel Window Systems, and that really toughened me up, because dealing with builders in Northern Ireland, wow, they're tough men. So I looked after 22 building sites, and it was all new build stuff. It's all new houses, and I supplied all the windows and doors for those. So, and as a sales rep for Baskel, you had to win the business, measure the business, write the contracts. So I was doing 60, 70 hours a week. It was great. I was in my 20s. I was 21 at the time when I got the job. And, I was earning really, really good money. But then I met my would-be later wife, and doing 70 hours a week probably didn't work. So I then moved into the telecom industry, and I worked for a Liverpool company who I was one of two sales reps in Northern Ireland, and that was brilliant. So that's what got me into telecom. So selling mobiles to businesses, the good old days of mobile phones, Ryan, which I'm sure you'll know. Well, we used to earn. Well, I'm a lot older than you, but the real good old days, we used to make a lot of money in mobile phones. It was great. So I moved into there, worked there for a year, and then there's a telecom company in Northern Ireland, and I had about 8 staff at the time. I went in to be a sales rep for them, and then got into sales management. So throughout this journey, I was learning how all these businesses were working, and then for about 6 of my 7 years at that company, I had 3 flights a week. I used to fly into all parts of the UK, and I set up their entire UK sales team. And then in around about 2009. So during that time, they were great times for me, because I was earning a lot of money. I was doing really well, and towards the latter part of that, Sarah and I got married, and Harvey, our eldest, he was born, and I got some properties and whatever else. I could still remember, I suppose, when I had some properties. That again, that was probably more being an entrepreneur. But I got into the property market, and I remember my wife, who's a country girl, said to me at the time, "What are you doing? Why don't you just save your money? Why don't you just save your money?" And I was like, are you mad, woman? You know, what do you mean saving money? I ain't going to be a millionaire. You know, I'm going to make all this money. And of course, just before the property market went bang, I decided I was working for that company, earning a lot of money, very secure job, but very unhappy. And I decided to start my own business.
What were you unhappy about?
I suppose I spent 6 of the 7 years building up, you know, the UK and Ireland sales team. A lot of hard work, a lot of flights, a lot of time away from home, and just there were some changes made in the business, which meant that I lost more sales reps in 7 weeks than I lost in 7 years. And I remember my boss at the time coming in and says, "Let's build a new sales team time." I was like, wow, I just don't have the energy to go and do that again for someone else. So I decided to go out. My brother Neil, who's 5 years younger than me, he had an online data business. And I had this great idea. Says, right, well, I got all these skills and training field salespeople and everything else. And surely that's transferable. I can apply that, you know, to that business. And so he brought me in, and yeah, that didn't work. That didn't work. Suddenly, at the same time, so just before that happened, I was building my own house. I had these properties. I was earning good money, and then I decided to go out on my own. And then what happened? Of course, the global recession happened. All the property markets sank. I was building a house at the time, and I remember the house was getting built, and my father-in-law was helping project manage it and build it and whatever. I couldn't even go and see it being built. I couldn't. You know, I was all my funds were gone, virtually gone, and I'd made this huge mistake. Then I got an opportunity to take the TomTom telematics partnership for Ireland, which is really selling vehicle tracking, high-end vehicle tracking systems into commercial fleets in Ireland. I took that, but again, this wasn't going to work. And then there was a telecom company in Belfast that wanted me to come on board as managing director. So I did the two things at the same time. I done the telematics and I did the telecom. And we looked at their business at the time; it was virtually insolvent. But they had a good partnership at the time. And I thought, right, so move both into the same office in Lisburn Road in Belfast, and you know, just did it. And all I'll say is, see when it has to work, it works because the focus. But that again, that survival instinct kicks in, and you just start pushing, and it really started to build success up there. Then after 3 years with that other telecom business, I decided to exit that business. I created a business called Simplicity Group, where we done the telecom and we done the telematics all together. Still selling to end B2B customers, but just decided to do it ourselves. That was then starting a new mobile business. And Ryan, as you know the good old days of mobile phones. You know, when Apple came into the market, you know, a lot of that margin and everything started to go out of that. And I spent a year. I remember that was again, I was then back in survival mode again.
Just on the point there, you were saying that you exited that company. Did you sell the company or did you just?
I sold my shares. I sold my shares in the company. So
Okay. Okay.
I sold my shares. I was in business with a couple of brothers, and I exited. So I exited in his, and I sold my shares and decided to do the telecom myself. I didn't have a non compete or anything
And
out there.
what was that moment like? Because sometimes we can be in a comfort zone, you know, it's just like, no, I'll just stick this out. But you felt that there was another opportunity. And why did that appeal?
Yeah, there was a lot of reasons at the time. I was in business with two other people, and that's all that. And then I also was getting pulled from pillar and post for my other business, you know, that was selling the vehicle telematics. So it was just there was two different offices and everything else, and I just decided, and me and my brother Neil, we decided just to do the whole thing ourselves and really be kind of in charge of our own destiny, make our own decisions, create a new business with, you know, a completely different culture. That's what we did. But that was then really tough, really, really tough because the B2B mobile stuff was starting to get very saturated. So we decided to do voice over IP. And it actually took my brother. It took my brother to tell me, he's looking at, this doesn't add up here, you know. He says, why don't we just focus on VoIP, which is ultimately telephone systems into businesses in Ireland. When we made that switch there, I mean, I remember during that time, my wife said to me, Harry, you're going to need to get a job. You know, you can't not pay yourself. You know, we got bills, you know, you can't not pay yourself. I remember there my father-in-law at the time saying to me, you know, he says to me, Harry, always remember this thing. When the debt comes in, the love goes out. You know? You know. So there were some tough times, but yeah, I'm really proud of just being resilient and sticking at it.
Did you always have the entrepreneurial spirit? You know, you talked about you had it as a teenager, you started selling cigarettes, but you also worked through different companies. But something you said was, you know, you were learning as much as you could through them. Was that something that always, that you, decision that you knew you would start your own, or did it just kind of come in a moment?
Um, I always had that it in me to just do my own thing and build something the way I want to build it. To do something that wasn't just about money, but you know, although you know, there's definitely times where that's very important, but it has real purpose. You know, it solves a problem for the customer. I've always been interested in technology. My wife cracks up. She's like, "What are you getting delivered now?" You know, there's cables, different things around. You know, I've always been a bit of a techie. I remember my wife saying to me, the company I worked for 7 years, whenever a year after I went out on my own, she says to me, "I used to think it was that company that pushed you really hard." But you know what? As you know what I've worked out, it's not them, it's you. You push you really hard. You know?
I would say that that's in most entrepreneurs, most that
Yeah,
I know anyway. It's just like, and then myself too, it can be hard to sit still. I'm like, right, what can I do? What's next? What's next? You know, it's always there. You know, there was a few
yeah,
years I took time out, and it was nice. And that time I took out, I didn't want to do anything. There's part of me, no, you know what, I'm good. But then I swung back, and I'm like, no, let's let's just set a new challenge. Let's go again. You know,
yeah.
and yeah, but it can be fun.
It can be fun. I always find it's never fun in the moment, you know, the moment of stress and everything else. But whenever you set out and have a purpose, sometimes the harder it is to get there and the amount of hurdles you get, you know, when you do achieve it and it gives you some validation that you had the right idea or you adapted, it's great, you know.
What would you say your best qualities are?
What my best qualities are?
Mm.
I would say qualities or abilities. Qualities, I mean,
Abilities is a good way of putting it too.
I think building teams is something that I've got quite good at with people, bringing people on a journey, you know, really setting out that vision and getting people to come on a journey, which is great for me because I feel a real responsibility to make sure that the people in my team are getting to where they need to get to as well, you know. I've learned so much. I mean, the Harry today versus the Harry, you know, 15 years ago. I'm probably a bit embarrassed of myself, to be honest with you, you know, because I'm a completely different person. People that have worked for me that length of time have probably said I've mellowed a bit, but self awareness is something that I've learned more and more of. You know, I think we all have blind spots, you know, but I think with people, like I really struggled in the pandemic. Even my brother, he was like, you know, I knew you struggled there because you need people. You need people around you. You know, I love working with people. I think another thing is that, you know, I've worked with people over the years, and if you want to make money quickly, you can, but it's very rare that it's the right thing or you're doing the right thing. It takes longer, you know, it takes longer to build something the right way, an honest way, you know, an ethical way. I think that's really important, you know, and really sticking to what you believe in, because especially when you're bringing people on a journey with you, you know, this is why we're doing it. This is, you know, what we believe in. So yeah, probably a long answer there. You're probably looking for a short one.
Not at all. I want to dive in a bit more on the building a team. When you're saying that, like, I'm looking at you and seeing you as a leader. So, what is it that you feel are the important aspects as a leader to build a team and bring them with you?
Well, I can tell you what not to do. Don't try and hire people the same as you. Same as me. If I'm building a team, I don't want people the same as me. I want people that are better than me. You have to be very aware of where your own blind spots are, where your weaknesses are, because you need balance. On the team. I think that's really, really important. It's very, very difficult. There's a lot of I've made so many mistakes in hiring people over the years, and whenever you're looking to hire somebody, I've learned that don't leave it too late. You should always be hiring. You always be hiring, even when you don't need someone. You should always be hiring. So, for instance, we have what's called the virtual bench. Yeah. So when I meet new people, I always like to hear if they know somebody or that can solve a problem that I have or similar to my industry, and I'll always meet them for a coffee, even if I don't have something for them, and I'll just say, listen, I actually don't even have anything at the minute, but I'd like to work with you in the future and whatever else. Their lives change, our lives change, and usually that then becomes a phone call away. So I think that's really important, to always be hiring. I always like to, my businesses are both in growth phases, and it's important to always meet people who are one or two levels above you as well, because you have your own network. But, I brought a chairman in this year into one of the businesses, and he's just given me access to the whole new network. So I want to bring people into my business that have been to a place where I haven't been yet. If I'm scaling, there's no point. Yes, I've got my core team and everything else, but I do need people to come in there who've been to that place, because otherwise I'm going to have to learn from making mistakes. But actually, they've already made the mistakes. They've been to that place, and they'll put those processes in place. So I think that's really important. But when you've got the team established, it's really important to, one of the most valuable lessons I've learned in life about people is you can be efficient with many things. You can be efficient with systems, processes, but don't try and be efficient with people. Don't like, whenever I was first a sales manager, I'd say, well, sure, I'm going to save myself time here. I'm going to bring the whole team together for an hour, and that's efficient for my time, and sure, that's great. No, that doesn't work, and there's times you do need to bring together as a team. However, you need to have the one-to-ones. People will share things with you, that they would normally in the team environment. Not every person is the same. They want different things. Even in the minute, I'll have a leadership meeting every 2 weeks, but I'll have a one-to-one with each of my team every week, where they have an agenda and everything else. And we do a quarterly board meeting, which is really effective. We set our vision for the year. We had a big board meeting there this week, and everyone's now pumping. And I think in a team as well, where I've changed, create an openness and honesty in a team, a safety for people as well. I've worked in teams before where people don't want to speak up. If I'm going to challenge, I have to be able to be challenged myself in that team. The team needs to have its own confidentiality, and that we can all be open and honest with each other. So it's so important. But it's really important for me to understand each person in my team, what they're looking to achieve, where they're looking to go, so we can work together to help them get where they need to go. You got to give something to get something. I always say that. When I bring a team on, I want to show them how I can help them first. Heavy load first, and then as time goes on, they're going to help me and help the team and everything else. So another thing that I'm sure you're going to talk about EO today, but I've started to bring a bit of EO, what I've learned in entrepreneurs organization, into my meetings. So I always feel that when you, especially do a quarterly board meeting where these people haven't been together for a while, so I like to kick it off with a connection exercise. So I did one the other day, and it was what's a mistake that you made in life that gave you your biggest learning? And I emailed it to them. I wasn't too unfair. I emailed it to them before the meeting, but I already seen some people around cringing. But actually, that vulnerability, and connecting people at the beginning of a meeting, which I learned mainly in EO, suddenly the meeting is more respectful, impactful. People are, they feel a bit of safety as well. because you can prejudge people, can't you?
And just on that point, then, what was your biggest lesson?
What was my biggest lesson?
Yeah, the question that you had there.
Yeah, my biggest. I did tell you there. My biggest lesson was you can be efficient with many things, but you can't be efficient with people. You have to put more time into people, not less. Giving one person, if you're in my team, if I give you more time, one-to-one time and everything else, that's way more impactful than trying to be efficient and deal with that as a group of people. That was one of my biggest lessons. I have many, many.
Yes, never ending. You did mention EO, and that's where I've connected with you, Harry.
Mhm,
You were
mhm.
actually the first person that I connected with before I joined the community. But since you've progressed on to be the president, and
Yeah,
for the next, I believe, is it until 2026 or the end of 2025?
yeah. So I'm the president at the minute for this term. So yeah, for this term, but yeah, I've been in EO for 7 years, and wow, it's just been it's been very very important in my life, both personally and professionally. It's been very important.
What have you found with EO that you wouldn't have found elsewhere? What are the benefits of EO? The things that opportunities, just anything.
So EO is a peer to peer network for entrepreneurs. To get into EO, you must qualify. So you must be a major shareholder, owner, founder of a business that turns over €1 million a year. And with that, the reason for that is you're with like minded people. So forum in a forum group, which is anywhere from 5 to 9 people. Nobody can be in the same industry. You can't have a family member, you can't have a friend. There can't be any conflicts. So for me, coming from the telecom industry, which can be a bit cutthroat when I first came in, you probably feel the same, and you got to go, how confidential is this? It's been amazing. The people in my forum group, and there's many businesses that are much bigger than mine, but there's no two people the same. And it's about experience sharing. It's not about giving advice. In fact, it's totally against what EO does. It's about giving advice. It's about giving an experience share. So if somebody has a challenge, whether it's personal, business, or family, someone else in there will have an experience to say, well, this is something happened to me. I might have got it wrong or I got it right. And then everyone benefits from it. What it's done for me is every major decision I've made in my business over the last 7 years, I can track it back to a conversation I've had in forum. Building a board. And it's not that I took that full experience. I had an idea what I was going to do. There's some decisions I was about to make. And I heard an experience share and I went, oh, yeah, I would have went the wrong route there. The confidentiality in forum, what happens in forum stays in forum. I think my wife says it's like therapy for entrepreneurs, isn't it? I suppose what I would say is, as a CEO of a business, the buck stops with you. You're not really held accountable, are you? And you got to turn up at your business every day looking like you have it together, even when you really don't,
Mm.
and going there and just being straight and honest and talking about what's happening. Sometimes you feel on your own. It's a lonely world as a CEO, Ryan, isn't it? It can be very lonely, So going there and being with your own people and just the way, like I would go to some forum meetings when I was talking about some of those survival stages. I was going to a forum, I was like, I've got 4 hours to go in here, and there's so much rubbish going on in my life and whatever else. And have I got time for this? And I go there and I come back going, I needed that. It's been very important in my life.
Yeah, me too. I only joined, I think, last year. I'm in it about a year now, but it's something I wish I knew about when I was younger. Because for me, business was quite lonely. Because you're just in your business and you don't really have people to talk to business about. Well, I didn't anyway. It was very limited. But if I had known about it and had applied myself to it, I think how I could have applied that to business, the amount of people that I could learn from, because there's so many people in it too, the community, and they're so happy to share, so willing to share and happy to help out where they can. It's just a hub for knowledge and wisdom and like-minded people without ego. I feel very grounded
Yeah,
there in the
yeah,
sense of it's just, and it's not, it's business people, yes, but it's also not really. It's just everyone's there just to be in a space, and if you want to talk about personal life or whatever it is, it's a really good community. I'm very grateful for it.
Oh, listen, I mean, and I think you've brought the average age down, Ryan, haven't you? So it's great. I've got quite a few years of you, but it's amazing. It's amazing as well. Like some of the ideas that you've had and the shares that you've had, and like the stuff you've shared has massively benefited me. Just you don't realize what you feel as if this is only happening to me at the minute, and then you hear stuff and you go, like when I first came into EO, I was dealing with people who were mega businesses, and I was going, and I realized they've got the same problems as me, you know, or I might have solved a problem that they've just encountered. Everyone's equal, in form, everyone's equal, and I think that's important.
You're running multiple companies, and then you're now the president. How do you manage that? Because not you're the president of Ireland. It's a big undertaking, and there's lots of events around the world, and you're bringing an event to Ireland as well. How do you manage all that, Harry?
Listen, EO's gave me a lot. It's done so much for me. Being the board, being the president of EO Ireland is about me giving back. This isn't a full-time job, it's a hobby, All I'll say is, like I said earlier, one of my skills is picking a great team. The team I have on the board for EO Ireland, who are all entrepreneurs, who are all volunteers as well. See, if I had that team in my company, any of my companies, do you actually realize that what I could do with that? I have amazing people who all follow the EO way as well. So it's brilliant. And like I'm just in the latter stages of a fundraise for one of my companies, and before Christmas, like started very, very busy. But that team really stepped in and helped and took over some stuff, and so it's been amazing. One of the biggest things I learned about scaling is building the team. So my company Simplicity Group, I've got a board there. I put a managing director in last year, which was a huge thing for me, massive. I always believe in a bad member of staff will hurt your business, a bad manager will cripple your business, a bad director will kill your business. Yeah, and but I put an MD in there, and he's flying. He's an amazing guy, doing really well. He's worked with me now for about 17 years. He's only 35 as well, so it gives you a bit of an idea. So empowering people, getting the right people on board, and really being relentless about that. The layers, making sure that, and then empowering them and letting them do what you hired them to do. It's difficult the first time you do it. As entrepreneurs, sometimes we're control freaks. So that's been. I've got an amazing board in Mantis. I've got a brilliant board in Simplicity Group. My EO, I have a great board. The EO is like a hobby for me, and yes, there's a bit of travel, but I've now got a network. There's 18,000 people in EO, and I've now got a network of people in all corners of the world, who I could call upon, ask for help, or one of my businesses, Mantis, is in North America now. We're really taking this global, and that network has been really, really useful for me. I have to get something out of it too. It's not just about giving back. So I'm getting loads out of it. But yeah, having the right people around you is important.
You talk about scaling. Is that something you always wanted to do? Taking your brand global, or is it just something that kind of happened organically?
I don't think I was thinking that big, if you asked me 10 years ago. But I suppose EO's really helped with that. I've been to North America at the minute is the main area that we're focusing on. I know people over there. When I take a look at our solution in Mantis, you just kind of think, well, the Americans must be way on ahead of us, but actually we realize that our technology is about 6 or 7 years ahead of them, and they've got a bigger problem. They've got bigger issues that we've got the solution for. We went to Las Vegas last year, of all places, to a big conference just to do a bit of research. And I got really excited, with the opportunity there. I think if I had a direct sales team, I'm building a channel model now in one of my businesses where there's distributors and channel partners. I think a direct sales, taking it global, I think would be very tough. But having a channel and different channel partners has made it a lot easier. But suddenly the blood's going again. I'm getting excited, you know. Do you know what I mean? I don't think
Mhm.
I've ever can just get into a flow and do the same over and over. I need to be doing something different, and so that's what it is at the minute.
Yeah, it can be exciting when you set your sights on something or a goal, and you have to dream that goal first. It's not
Yeah.
like, and then think about what does that look like, or where can I get to? And I always think, dream big, the sky's the limit, dream as big as you can. But then that's something that sometimes you can't share with everyone. Not everyone will get what you're sharing. And I wanted to understand from you, like, how do you share your dream or with the people you're working with or the people around you?
I'm quite open. I've always kind of worn my heart on my sleeve. I think that's been really important. So, the beginning of last year, we took the decision to, for the first time ever, all I've ever done all my life is bootstrap businesses. The first time ever to take external investment, take some minority investment into the business, which is what we need to go to America. Do you know what that's done for my business and my people? I was totally transparent with them. This is what we're doing. This is what we need to do. We would not even have grown our business 50%. Last year, we doubled our business last year, and we wouldn't have grown at 50% if I hadn't have been transparent and honest with my team. In fact, the entire company, this is what we're doing: putting down the vision, setting out the journey, getting everyone to come on the journey with us. I think it's important. They're all now part of that. They'll all come into our option pool as well. It's the first time ever we've done that. You treat this as their own business as well, because we made that. We talked about in the last all hands meeting, we says about 100x, when 100x. So guys, I know what you mean by 100x is, and you're probably thinking sales, commission, money. Yeah. But see that one problem you have, only one a day. What happens to you? What do you think happens to that one by 100x? You're going to get 100 of those a day. The one you have a week, you're going to get 100 a week. So we got to prepare for scale. So I think it was really important to share your dreams, with your people.
Yes, yes. There was a call there recently with Cameron Harold, I think his name was, but he was on talking about the vivid vision.
Yeah, didn't miss
So
that. I
that's
missed
something
that.
that I always do. I always create a vision first. Like, what set the numbers and what does the company look like, and then I so start at the end, and then like, how can I work towards it? But what he had done was amazing. I was so impressed. As like, I only thought I had a vision, but the level of detail and just the images and stuff. So I went and created one, but that's something now that I'm about to share with the team. Of like, make them all
Wow.
aware of, like, this is what we want to do, this is where we're going, and this is how we don't necessarily need a roadmap. It's
Yeah.
just that's the end goal, and then we have a team then that'll break it down and stuff. So yeah, I found it very interesting.
And you've done that with your team already, then, or
No, I haven't done it yet. I have
right?
created the document. I'm probably going
Right.
to do it this week. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm having a vision, but I always, in the past, that's not something that I done. When you're growing a company and no one really kind of knows where you're going, everyone's pulling in every different direction because their vision is here and your vision is there and so on. So I think having a shared vision,
Yeah.
and I know it sounds cliche,
Creating
but
creating
actually
alignment.
having it as a document, is very valuable.
Yeah, and just creating alignment. I think that's really important. Creating alignment, with the team. You're obviously a very open person as well. You're very honest. And I think sharing that with your team, making sure they're aligned with it, and get everyone on the bus. This is where we're going. We done a big event last year, like last quarter. Q4 was really challenging for us because we built our own software platform. We done a launch in Mercedes Benz World in London, in the middle of a capital raise at the same time, and they absolutely nailed it, and they knew how important it was. If I hadn't shared with them, why this is important, everyone, whenever it needed to be done, they're all working the clock, they're all working together, they're pushing. And I think we can achieve more. I think a team can achieve more working together than any one person can on their own. So I think good luck with that.
Yes, you also speak about the team building, and that's,
Mm,
I would say, there's like another version of that trying to come in myself. I've built teams in the past, but I look like, oh,
mhm,
where was I at then, and where am I at now? And
mhm,
we're always learning. That's something that I've learned from you too. Is I see when I would share with you how you can be very decisive and direct and share your experience, and I see why you have been successful with what you're doing and scaling. It's very inspiring.
yeah, well, listen, I'm far from perfect, Ryan, and I've made lots of mistakes, but again, yeah, it all comes down to people being really honest with them, challenging each other, and you have to be prepared to be challenged yourself. That was very difficult for me, not being intimidating either, because people see you as the CEO of the business. Oh, I can't challenge that. I don't want a yes sir, no sir, three bags full sir. I want that challenge to say I don't have all the ideas. See the first time it happens, the team performs and you had nothing to do with it, right? And part of you is going so impressed, it's like, because people used to say to me, Harry, you working on the business or you working in the business, right? It used to really piss me off, right? Because I was so stuck in my business, But whenever the team performs and you really had very little to do with it, part of you is going so impressed, and other parties going, they don't even need me.
But that's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
You got to empower
that's,
people.
yeah, yeah, good people. And that's something that I definitely
Mm,
struggle with is I never believed that people could do what I did better because I was so stuck in my own way. But now I'm like,
mm,
everybody can do it better than me.
yeah,
One of
yeah.
the other things that you said when we first spoke was you asked me a question. I can't remember one of the questions, but I think it was, what is the most important factor for a leader, or the quality or ability to have? And you said being able to listen.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to realize that, or is that something that you always had?
No, I didn't naturally have. I had to learn that. I had to learn. I had to make lots of mistakes. When you're in sales, yourself, you're very much steering your own ship. You're responsible for your own destiny. Sales probably taught me to listen to the customer more. Early days I probably wasn't. I was a bit cocky salesman out there. I know the way, once I started to get into solution selling, it's really important to listen. Really, really important to listen because you're solving a problem for the customer. And then just taking that into the team. And that's why the one-to-ones are really important as well with people. No, it's something I've learned and got better at. My wife would probably say otherwise. You know, she says you've got selective hearing, so
You said something there too. It's just like, what is the customer? Like listening to their problems. I don't know if enough businesses do that. That's something that's in my awareness that I haven't nailed down. We know we have a customer, but what does the customer truly want? Like, what can we always do to elevate the customer experience? Always been focused on the customer.
this is so 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 important. Somebody said this about me, my product. I brought in a new product lead recently. Really, really impressive guy, real superstar. And he's been in a various different levels of meetings with me, and he said that what's very unique about how you handle meetings. He says that you always say, "What's the customer experience?" The customer should be at the center of everything. It's really, really important. And there was something I remembered. I think it was Jeff Bezos. I watched the Jeff Bezos book. Listened to his audio book, and at every meeting that's in Amazon, he has a seat at the table which says no one sits in, and that represents the customer. So in every conversation throughout the business, there's a seat there for the customer, even though the customer's not there. But for you always to think about, what does the customer want? What's the customer experience? What is the customer's challenges? How do we solve that? So for me, when you think about the customer, you think about three things: challenge, solution, and outcome. So what are the customer's challenges? What solutions do we have? And even from a product development point of view, what solutions could we have? Could we build? What's the outcome? What does it mean to the customer? What's the return of investment? So if they're investing 100 grand or 10 grand or £500, what's their return of investment? Obviously this is relevant to a lot of things I do, but I think the customer experience is so important.
It's funny that you say that. I just listened to a book too about Jeff Bezos not too long ago. Don't know if it was the same one, but it was like 21 rules or 23 rules. But one of the things he said was, or he says, is the customer isn't always right. The customer is everything. I was like, that hit home. I'm just like, that's something I need to go apply to my business ASAP, as opposed to kind of knowing what they want. Yes, I know what they want, but what do they truly want? What can we do to elevate their experience? Can we do to elevate the brand, the product, the service, and just level up? And that's something that we're going through at the minute. We hired a marketing guy who is off to a good start, so a lot happening. The older I get, I realize the more I don't know. So it's been fun and interesting.
We got to figure out how to be better at getting feedback from customers. I mean, I think we'll all agree that some of our happiest customers today, at one stage, were very unhappy or maybe had a really unhappy experience. And what we do is we just go, right, just make it right for the customer, even if it costs us money. Make it right. We need to be better at getting feedback. Why does it need to go wrong to get the negative feedback? What about the customers who are not having a great experience, and actually you're just going to wait for them to go to someone else, and then you're going to phone them and go, well, why did you leave? It's like there needs to be a better way of getting feedback that's honest from customers, that you can do something about it early.
That was that 3 step you had. What's the challenge, the solution, and the outcome? Is that
Yeah.
something that's been pivotal for you?
Yeah, anyone who works for me, whether it's in a proposal, a business case, board packs, board papers, challenge, solution, and outcome. Where's the customer in this here? Because that's what you're thinking about. So yeah, that's the way we would generally go through things.
How does Harry show up for Harry on a daily basis to be able to be at your best?
How does Harry show up for Harry? There's a fully loaded question there, Ryan, isn't it? How does Harry show up for Harry? Interesting, because my responsibilities have changed over the years. At the moment, my kids, I've got my eldest son who's 15, coming 16. He's going to be a man in a couple of years. And I feel a real responsibility there to help him, to stop treating him like a kid as well. I've realized that, your kids, they don't just listen to you or don't just see whenever you're in front of them. They see everything, what you do, how you are with people, how you are with everyone. That's important. I've always had a challenge with maybe showing up for myself, when it's just for me in a selfish way. But when it's for my kids, for my wife, for my friends, if somebody asks me for help, I want to give, I want to help them. And I suppose showing up for myself now, it's important that I look after me as well, because my kids are watching that too. This last year, I've tried to bring more of a balance to things. Like I said earlier, I've tried to, I think I don't get a lot of time on my own, but I think that's important. It was really strange the other week, we had the big storm.
Mm-hmm.
We had the big storm, and it was a Friday, and the red weather warning. Of course, the electric went out early hours in the morning. Schools are closed. Everybody's in the house. I couldn't work. I actually felt lazy for a bit. My mobile phone were down to 1 bar. I actually felt lazy for a bit, but it was like okay not to work. But it was interesting, and it was really nice. Actually, there was a nice part of that. We were sitting there on a Friday night, all in the same room, and with the fire lit. And my kids are talking to me. They're communicating with me. They're not on devices and whatever else. So it's like, but it was something really nice about that. Now, when I got to day 3 with no power, I was like, right, this isn't on. but it was nice, and I need to. You talked about showing up for me. My kids are probably my biggest motivator for me to show up for me.
Them moments where you come together and there's no distraction. I had that too with my family, and it was something nice about it, because I knew that there was nothing else happening, and they couldn't be on their phones because there was no mobile network and the power was down. And it was a day I'll never forget. And I think them moments are gold, because we don't get them so much anymore. Yeah, we're in the conversation, but the TV might be on. We're looking at our notifications on our phone, so nobody's really present. But I think for me, looking at that now, I'm just like, that's an opportunity to create more of them moments, even if it's just 1 hour a week where we just sit in a room and we just chat, because I guarantee that they're going to be moments you'll never forget.
Yeah, totally agree. Completely agree.
In terms of your work ethic, where did you get that from?
Work ethic probably came from, well, I know it came from my dad. So my mum and dad were married at 16 and 17. Doesn't even bear thinking about these days, you know.
Kids.
And I was born when they were 18, 19. Dad worked as a fitter in the shipyard, Harland and Wolff in Belfast, full time. And when I was born, to bring in extra money, he got a part time. He was a part time soldier for the UDR in Belfast. You know that every third day, then he worked a 20-hour shift. You know, I would say when we were younger, we were probably quite poor, and my dad, made us not poor just by working what he did. You know, in Northern Ireland, this was 1978, 1980s, really dangerous place. You know, really, really dangerous place. You know, I remember an incident, even my dad back then, my dad passed away 10 years ago now, so I couldn't even have told this story today, I remember even my dad, I was a young kid, and my dad had a personal weapon at the time. And for somehow, bullets got into the coal bucket, and my mum threw the coal in the fire. And you can imagine, bang, 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 right? And so my dad got some doing, serious doing, but he ended up giving up his personal weapon. He just said, which was very, very unusual for a soldier to do. He didn't have a personal weapon then. But they were scary times, and I think that's the survival instinct comes from there as well. I mean, one of the biggest stories was I remember when I was about 10, and my brothers were 5, 4, and 3. And my dad used to go away to camp each year, and he was due to be back a certain day. And then one Saturday night, we were all in the living room, and this banging at our front door. There's this banging, or somebody was trying to get into our house, trying to break into our house. And my mum was obviously, she got us all into the bedroom. We got my brothers under the bed and got us all, hidden, and was on the phone to 999 to say, my husband's a soldier, there's somebody trying to break into my house and whatever else. We were all crying. My mum was crying, everybody it was just, and then suddenly we realized they get into the house, and as we were all hiding under the bed, and it was just, we were terrified, absolutely terrified. And then suddenly the door opened, and it was my dad. He'd come home early. And oh my goodness, again, my dad,
Jesus.
my dad must have got some hiding from my mum there, and she
Oh
had to tell the
dear.
police. She had to tell the police, it's my husband. He's right, it's a false alarm. My husband's home early. But it was just, see, living in that, just, we could never ever even tell anyone my dad was a soldier, or,
Mm.
it was just, but I always respect my dad as well my dad was never bitter. We were brought up as Protestants. I always said, treat everyone equal, live and let live. And that's what I do today, up until I was probably 15, I wouldn't even really have known a Catholic.
Mm.
And it's just, yeah, unfortunately my dad died 10 years ago, but he installed the work ethic in me, the survival instinct, how to treat people. And he would have lost a lot of friends and stuff over the troubles and things as well, but so I always admired him for that. So
How was that then, you as a teenager? Because it was very divided. You're on this side and they're on that side, and that coming together when you were 15, was it? And then growing through that. How was that for you?
I remember when I was young, I supported the Glasgow Rangers, and I had my Rangers top on. And we had a caravan, and we used to go out up Tullymore Forest. And one day we went into Warren Point, and I was in the back seat, and I got out of the car with my Rangers top on, and my dad nearly took the head of me. Get that, get that top off, because you just didn't do that then.
Oh
So
dear
it was
Jesus.
strange, But I loads of friends. I got into retail. A wee friend Davey, remember, lived on the Falls Road, and he was a great mate. I remember I had one bottle of beer one night. Worked in Levi's store in Belfast with him, and I said, Davey, I'll drop you home with one bottle of beer. And it was on the Falls Road, and dropped him off and done a U-turn. And then there's this police army convoy pulled me over, and I was like, geez, breathalyzed me. It was fine. It was totally fine. I had one bottle of beer or whatever else, but it just like, you know, I'd never really been up that direction, you know. So it was scary enough when we were younger, especially when there was bombs. I remember the bomb went off in Newton Ards, but thankfully, you know, I think Northern Ireland now, it's an amazing place. You know, it's some of the most friendliest people there. It's a very close community. You know, it's just a completely different place what 30, 40 years does, you know.
Harry, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Yeah, well, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it.